Hi, everyone. My name is Laura, and I'm an occupational therapist here at Children's, Wisconsin.
Welcome, Laura, and welcome to everyone else. Today's presentation from the Center for Healthcare Careers of Southeastern Wisconsin's Meet the Healthcare Professional is indeed going to have an occupational therapist. My name is Devonna Williamson. I'm a talent business partner at Freighted Health, and I will be your host. Today's presentation is also sponsored by Advocate Aurora, Ascension, Children's Wisconsin, and Freighted Health. We do have a couple of quick housekeeping items that we wanted to make certain everyone was aware of. We are recommending that if you have a mobile phone with you, that you get it ready for an activity that'll occur a little closer to the end of the presentation. That activity is going to occur at www.kahoot.it, and Kahoot is spelled Kahoot. Again, that address will be www.kahoot.it, and that's going to occur a little towards the end, closer towards the end of the presentation, but just so you're prepared and ready to go, feel free to, get to that site now. If you do have any questions while we're in the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat, and we will get to them, as soon as we are able to. As Laura indicated, today's topic is occupational therapy, and Laura Sharumpus, I've been practicing that, from Children's Hospital is here today to share her knowledge on the occupational therapy field. So Laura, welcome. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So like I said, my name is Laura. I'm an occupational therapist here at Children's, and I've been here for what will be 9 years in April. I currently work in both the inpatient and the outpatient settings here at Children's.
Great, wonderful. Well, as an occupational therapist, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so occupational therapists help people across their lifespan do the things that they want to do and need to do through the use of therapeutic activities. And occupational therapists can work in a wide variety of settings, including hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, schools, and outpatient clinics. And with that being said, we also work with a wide range of ages. Occupational therapists are a little bit different from physical therapists. Physical therapists tend to work on improving movement and gross motor skills. So when I work outpatient at our Delafield clinic, I am working in what we call the developmental area. And I am working with children to help them restore or develop skills that they need for their occupations or their everyday life. And when we say the word occupation, we're not talking about a job. It might sound kind of silly to think of a child having a job. So we're actually talking about the activities that they need to do every single day. And so one of a child's biggest occupations would be engaging in play. And some more occupations for a child may be socializing with their peers, being able to function in a school environment, themselves dressed, brushing teeth, that sort of thing. So we're working with children who are coming into the clinic. And how that works is they typically have a referral from their doctor to come in and see us. And once the referral is placed, we're able to see them come up on our schedule. So they're scheduled on us. And we start doing what we call a chart review. So we're looking in their medical chart. We're able to see the notes from all the different providers and medical team. And we're really trying to get a good background of what's going on, a good history, and that can kind of help us form a good picture before the child even gets to the clinic. So after the chart review, the child will come in for their first appointment, and this is when we complete an evaluation. So at the evaluation, the child typically comes in with either a family member or a caregiver, and they come in with the child. And this is where we get what we call our subjective information. So we're able to talk with the child and the family about what is bringing them into our clinic today, what concerns and goals they might have, things that they want us to look at or address. And then after getting that subjective information, we complete an assessment of the child. And this is done in our clinic through observation, watching the child engage in play activities. We may set them up with specific activities so we can see what their baseline level of function is. And then we also may do a standardized assessment. So we're looking at how they're functioning compared to another child at the same age range. At the outpatient clinic, we do see a wide variety of ages. So I work with babies, toddlers, school-age children, teenagers, young adults, and there's a wide range of diagnoses. So we may see somebody who has an orthopedic injury or a condition, brain injuries, developmental delays, genetic disorders, neuromuscular conditions. So quite the wide variety of diagnoses as well. And then we do work pretty closely with the physical therapists, the speech therapists, and the doctors. So once we do our assessment on the child, we then formulate goals. And these goals we discuss with the patient and the family to make sure that they're meaningful to the patient and family. We want everybody to be on the same page. We go through our treatment plan and we determine the frequency. So how often the child may be coming back in for occupational therapy services. At that initial evaluation, we may also provide a home exercise program so they can start doing exercises or activities at home before they come in for their next appointment. Then the child will come for follow-up appointments until they're discharged from OT, and that's typically when they meet their goals. Our treatment sessions are really tailored to meet the needs of the child. So, for example, if we have a 5-year-old who maybe broke their elbow, they were playing on the monkey bars and they fell and they broke their elbow, they went to their orthopedic doctor and they're now cleared to come to therapy, we would see them for that initial evaluation, and we may determine that they have range of motion concerns, so they're not able to fully extend or flex their elbow. They may be guarding that arm, so they may be nervous to use it, and they may be in a little bit of pain, and so they've learned how to compensate by using their other arm. And with that being said, because they haven't used their arm in so long, they may have poor hand strength, they may have arm weakness. So we need to really work on activities to help improve all of those deficits that we found. With a 5-year-old, we're not going to do typical arm exercises. They probably wouldn't be very motivated to do that. And we want to really find activities that are motivating for the child. So an example of an activity for a 5-year-old, let's say they're really interested in drawing, they like to color. Maybe I would have them color on our whiteboard, which is hanging on the wall. So it's on a vertical surface. And that will promote arm range of motion. So they're reaching all the way up to the top of the whiteboard to draw, and then all the way down. So they're extending their arm and they're bending their arm while they do that. And they're using their arm. And it's really getting that range of motion at the elbow, which I wanted. And they're kind of forgetting that they're doing exercises because they're engaging in an activity that they like. It's also working on their hand strength. So they have to hold that marker or the crayon, and that's helping with their finger and their hand strength. Another activity may be having them play with Play-Doh or putty. So that has some resistance to it. They're able to manipulate it with their hand. It's working on that hand strength. And again, it's appropriate for a 5-year-old child. It's motivating, and it's really getting working towards those goals that we wanted.
That might actually motivate me as an adult, actually, some of those activities that
Right.
you listed. Can I ask, as an occupational therapist, what sort of education you need? Like, what do people need in order to become what you are?
Yeah. So right now it's a little bit different in the sense that so I have my master's degree, but there's also programs in the US right now that have a doctorate track. And so there's kind of a dual entry program. And depending on where you go and the program, the school that you want to go to, they may have either the master's program or the doctorate program. Some schools are actually starting to phase out their master's program. And so they're only accepting students into the doctorate track. So it kind of depends on where you want to go and the program that they have.
Well, I know you mentioned that with the kids, based upon obviously what's wrong, that you set up a number of visits that they get. Is there a typical number of visits? Do you see a child for a year? Do you see a child for 2 days? What's the typical? Is there a typical?
Yeah, so it depends on a few things. Number one, insurance plays a big role into that. So what their insurance is covering, and if their insurance is not covering, the visits, the family does have the option to pay out of pocket. That is something as well. But insurance is a big piece that also dictates that. And then the other piece is the diagnosis or the impairments that they may have, and if they're reaching their goals. So it really varies quite a bit. Sometimes we see a child for an extensive period of time. Sometimes it's only a few visits that they need, and they have met their OT goals, and then we're discharging them. And we also have kids who may see us during the summer while they're out of school. They go to school and they get therapy at school, and then once school's out for the year, they return back to us that next summer for more therapy.
Okay. Well, I know, obviously you're at Children's, so it makes sense that you work with children. Other than maybe the Play-Doh and writing on the whiteboard, is the general goal the same for an OT for adults as it would be for working with children?
Again, I think that varies quite a bit kind of on their impairments. I think with children, a lot of our goals are really helping them engage in play activities, being able to participate with their peers, and maybe it's throwing a ball or catching a ball, or for a baby, it might be learning how to pick up something so they can start self-feeding. And then with adults, a lot of times it's working on, maybe helping them participate in their day-to-day activities, if that's being able to cook a meal for their family, or making sure that they're safe, when they get themselves dressed or brushing their teeth. And so I think it kind of varies quite a bit on age range and what impairments they may have.
Well, so we did get a question in the chat that was asking for maybe a clarification on what the difference is between that occupational therapist and that physical therapist. And I know you touched on it a little bit, but is there, a line that you guys use to define what you're doing?
Yeah, and that's a common question that we do get. So here at Children's, I would say our line may be different than OTs that work with adults. So I don't want to, just give you a hard answer, but at Children's, we tend to see children to work more so on their fine motor delays or their fine motor impairments and their fine motor skills. So that tends to involve the upper body. We may also be working on, trunk control and activating their trunk. And physical therapists tend to work more on what we call gross motor skills. So helping a child walk and move and sit and stand. So all those big motor movements. And for occupational therapy, we tend to work on the fine motor movements. So picking up an object or holding a pen and writing. So we kind of tend to do more with the upper body. We also work on hand-eye coordination, what we call visual motor skills. And so kind of how that involves the hands and eyes working together. So I guess we tend to kind of focus more on the upper body, and physical therapy tends to focus more on the lower body. But with that being said, we both work on trunk control and head control and things like that.
What would you say are the skills and abilities that are really useful for someone who's in your career? Like, what makes someone a good OT?
Yeah, so you have to enjoy working with people. I think that's number one. So being able to talk with people, interact with people is really key, I think, to being an occupational therapist. And then knowing how to adapt and be flexible is huge. So I'll have patients, I have a whole activity planned out, and that child may not want to do that activity. And so I have to pivot and switch to the next activity and really kind of adapt my treatment plan, but still make it focused on the goals that we want to achieve. I think patience is key as well, and encouraging and motivating your patient. So I think those are some of the top things.
And just to clarify, I mean, it may seem obvious, but PTs, it's physical therapists, it's pretty straightforward to me that they touch patients. You are also touching the patient, right? Mm-hmm. Hands-on. Yeah. So it is a healthcare career that does have you doing hands-on work and care with the patients.
Yes, absolutely.
Another question has come in the chat, and that question is, how many patients do you as an OT typically see in a day?
Yeah, great question. So inpatient and outpatient, I typically see, I would say 8 patients is a pretty full day for me. So anywhere from 6 to 8 in that time frame. When we work outpatient, it's a little bit different because the patients are scheduled for a specific time slot on our schedule. And so we work with them for about 45 minutes to an hour. When we work inpatient, it's a little bit different because the kids are obviously medically sick and ill, and they're not feeling well. And so their activity tolerance may be quite a bit different. And so we may only see them for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. We really kind of have to go based off of their medical situation.
Great. Wonderful. What do you enjoy most about your job, Laura?
So I really enjoy working with kids. That's first and foremost. I enjoy helping people, and working with kids allows me to be creative, and it really keeps you on your toes. So I love the variety that I'm able to do throughout the day. That's huge. I also like working with the broader team. So I enjoy communicating with the other therapists, the physical therapists, speech therapists, respiratory therapists, the doctors, the nurses. It's all a really big team of people that are trying to come together and provide the best and safest care for this child. And I truly appreciate that.
That's great. Yeah. You enjoy the population you work with, and then also the peers that you are working with that are in slightly different areas. It's great.
Yes.
So of course I have to ask the opposite question. If you enjoy those things the most, is there a part of your job that's more challenging or that is, not quite as enjoyable?
Yeah, so I would say paperwork is the part that's not as fun. So, we do write notes on every patient that we see. And so that part can get, can be a little bit not quite as fun as going out and engaging with a child. And so you're sitting at your computer and you're documenting at your computer.
Yeah, no, I don't like paperwork either. And I sit behind a computer all day long. So yeah. I enjoy talking to people. So that's the part of the job that I enjoy for myself. So I agree with you on that. We're going to go to the activity in a second. So again, I'm going to ask people to be ready to go to www.kahoot.it. And again, Kahoot is Kahoot. But I did want to ask you one more question. Excuse me. Excuse me. Do you have any suggestions, Laura, for what someone who's maybe in high school and is interested in an OT field, like what things they should be doing to prepare for that?
Yeah, I would say really get out and volunteer. That's great. When you're volunteering with people, you're practicing those interactive skills and you're really learning if you like working with people or not. So getting out and volunteering in various settings would be great. Various age ranges as well. And then, maybe coming in and shadowing a therapist and kind of seeing their day-to-day work, I think would be helpful as well.
That's great. That makes sense to me. Maybe in high school who is interested in an OT field, like what things they should be doing to prepare for that?
Yeah, I would say really get out and volunteer. That's great. When you're volunteering with people, you're practicing those interactive skills and you're really learning if you like working with people or not. So getting out and volunteering in various settings would be great. Various age ranges as well. And then, maybe coming in and shadowing a therapist and kind of seeing their day-to-day work, I think would be helpful as well.
That's great. That makes sense to me. Maybe in high school who is interested in an OT field.
It's looping.
What they should be doing to prepare for that?
Yeah, I would say really get out and volunteer. That's great. When you're volunteering with people.
Sorry about this. We're going to try and wait for the loop to end.
And you're really learning if you like working with people or not. So getting out and volunteering in various settings would be great. Various age ranges as well. And then, maybe coming in and shadowing a therapist and kind of seeing their day-to-day work, I think would be helpful as well.
That's great. That makes sense to me.
It's looping. Yeah, it is. Gosh. So we have people joining, and I can hear it a little bit in the background. I don't know. We're going to try and wait for the loop to end. It's kind of creating music. I do see people joining it, but my concern is that the loop is going in the background, so I don't know how well people can hear me. Laura, can you hear me fairly well? Okay, so maybe we'll just keep going here. Yeah, it is. God. I see people have joined. And I can hear it a little bit in the background. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know that this is going to work. It's kind of creating music. We may need to just bypass the activity. People joining it, but my concern is that the loop is going in the background, so I don't know how well people can hear me. Okay, so we did start it. Can you hear me fairly well? Okay, so the quiz is an occupational therapist may work in going here. Yeah, it is. I see people have joined. And I can hear it a little bit in the background. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know that this is going to work. It's Well, everyone got the answer right. Everyone
may
who
need
played just bypassed the activity. People joining it, but my concern is that the loop is going in the background, so I don't know how well people can hear me. Okay, so we did start it. Can you hear me fairly well? Okay, so the quiz is: an occupational therapist may work in going here. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. Well, everyone got the answer right. Everyone who played just bypassed the activity. People joining it, but my concern is that the loop is going in the background, so I don't know how well people can hear me. Okay, so we did start it. Can you hear me fairly well? Okay, so the quiz is: an occupational therapist may work in going here. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. Well, everyone got the answer right. Everyone who played just bypassed the activity. People joining it, but my concern is that the loop is going in the background, so I don't know how well people can hear me. Okay, so we did start it. Can you hear me fairly well? Okay, so the quiz is: an occupational therapist may work in going here. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. Well, everyone got the answer right. Everyone who played just
We made it through. Sorry about that, everyone. That has never happened before, and we have done approximately 10 of these. So first time for everything, I guess. Sorry for the loop of the words as well as the music, but those who did get involved in the activity, it looks like you guys mostly got the answers correct. Loved the last question about ice. That was a lot of fun. So I did have a question that I did want to ask you that we kind of, touched on a little bit when you talked about what students, kids, high school students might want to do. But even if you're going to school in college or you're still in high school, are there any like preparatory jobs that are like kind of entry level that someone could do if you wanted to while you're going to school to be an OT or thinking about going to school to be an OT?
That's a great question. So we do have rehab assistants or rehab techs that help us. And so that may be a great job to do while you're going to school.
Okay, great. I know that we do have CNAs. Would that be also maybe a field that someone could go into that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Sort of certified nursing assistant, in case people don't know what a CNA is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be great.
Great, wonderful. And I know you had mentioned that you do inpatient, so working in the hospital by the bedside. You do outpatient, so the clinic based. Is there, I know, are there OTs that teach? Like, are there OTs who work in like, I have a special chair because of my back issues, not that people need to hear about that, do that kind of support? Is that something that an OT or is that a PT?
Yeah, absolutely. There are OTs that work with people who may have had a work injury and they're returning to work, or doing OTs who are assessing the workplace for correct ergonomics. And so, we're looking at how somebody is completing their job and looking to prevent work injuries. There's occupational therapists who work in the academic setting, and so they're teaching as well. And then there's OTs that work in the school setting. And so they're working with kids either inside the classroom, or they're pulling the kids out of class for a little bit to do their therapy session.
Great, wonderful. And I know, again, the last question I had for you is going back to, again, something you touched on, which was about education. And you said master's or doctorate, heading towards doctorate these days. So a master's is typically, to get to a master's, 6 years?
Typically 2 years. So, and some programs actually have like a fast track. And so it kind of goes straight through, and that is about 1.5 years after you obtain your undergrad. So 6 years total with the undergrad included. And then it can range anywhere from like 1.5 to 2 years.
And the doctorates, is that another 2 years or? Okay.
Yes, yeah, typically. So it kind of just depends what school you go to. Some schools may have kind of like a combined track where it cuts down a little bit of that time frame.
So 7 to 8 years to get the doctorate, about 6 years, 5.5 years to get the master's, with your field heading towards the doctorate.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yep.
But that's in keeping, my understanding, with what the PTs are doing. They think that they are doctorates now.
Yes, yep, absolutely. Yeah. So kind of looking back at the history of it, OT originally was a bachelor's, and then they went to the master's, and now it seems like they're heading towards that direction, but there are quite a few programs that still have the master's right now. So it'll be interesting. They may end up keeping that route with the master's as well. So we haven't really heard yet.
Well, no, I mean, nursing has the associate's degree as well as the bachelor's degree to actually work as a nurse. So, you can have the two standing degrees.
Yeah.
Well, we do have, we wanted to let people know that if, you enjoyed this presentation, to subscribe to the channel and give a thumbs up to it, and, tell your friends and other schools about this program so that they, sign up and express interest in, coming to these presentations. We also do want to remind people that if you have any questions, about this kind of a program in general, these presentations, but specifically regarding occupational therapists, you can reach out to joan.ward@employmilwaukee.org. And again, that's joan.ward@employmilwaukee.org. Sorry about that. And Joan will, answer questions about the program itself. But if you have an OT question, she will shoot a note off to Laura. And Laura, I'm thinking, would be happy to, point you in the right direction with an answer.
Of course. Yes. Anytime.
Great. Well, Laura, we really appreciate you taking time to chat with us this morning. We know you're off to take care of a patient shortly, but we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with us and share, what an OT is, because I don't know that everybody knows that they exist, and, how helpful you are to kids as well as adults. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to talk with you all.
You as well. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.